What if the chains of your greatest defeat were forged into the very sword of your greatest victory? Imagine being ripped from royalty, sold into slavery, and then rising to a power that would halt the unstoppable Mongol horde, shift the destiny of an entire civilization, and change the world forever. This isn't a fantasy epic. This is the true story of Saif al-Din Qutuz. Our story begins in the Khwarezmian Empire, where a young boy, a relative of the ruler, watches his world burn under the Mongol invasion. Captured, he is no longer a prince, but property. He's sold in Damascus, then again in Egypt, where his life takes a dramatic turn, becomes a Mamluk, a slave soldier. These weren't just any slaves. They were an elite military caste, trained rigorously in war, discipline, and statecraft. And among them, one man shone brighter than the rest. Qutuz, through skill, courage, and sharp political maneuvering. Qutuz climbed the treacherous ladder of power within the Ayyubid Sultanate. He navigated a world of assassinations, court intrigue, and civil unrest, eventually becoming the vice sultan, the true power behind a fragile throne. But a shadow was stretching across the Islamic world. In 1258, the Mongols, the most feared army on earth, sacked the great city of Baghdad. Their sights were now set on Syria and Egypt. With the world on the brink, Qutuz did the unthinkable. In 1259, he seized power, declaring himself Sultan of Egypt. He knew that only decisive, unified leadership could face the storm. He gathered his forces, and among his generals was a man as ambitious and brilliant as himself, Baibars, another former slave who had risen through the Mamluk ranks. Together, they decided to make their stand, not to defend, but to attack. They would meet the Mongols head-on. The fateful encounter took place in September 1260 at a place called Ain Jalut, the Spring of Goliath. The battle raged, and for a moment it seemed history would repeat itself. The Mongol charge was overwhelming. The left flank of the Muslim army began to crumble. Defeat seemed certain. But then Qutuz did something legendary. He tore off his helmet so every soldier could see his face and charged into the fray, roaring Wa Islama, "O my Islam." His raw courage electrified his men. They saw their sultan, their leader, willing to die beside them. The tide turned. The Mamluks rallied, and for the first time in their devastating westward campaign, the invincible Mongols were defeated. Qutuz had saved Egypt, the heartland of Islamic culture and learning, but this triumph was tragically short-lived. On the victorious journey home, ambition and betrayal festered. Baibars, the hero of the battle, felt he was not given the reward he deserved. Just weeks after his historic victory at a place called Salihaya, Sultan Qutuz was assassinated. And within hours, Baibars was proclaimed the new sultan. Baibars would go on to rule for 17 years, a long and successful reign where he consolidated Mamluk power and defended the realm. But the legacy of Qutuz, the slave prince who reigned for less than a year, echoes louder. His life teaches us that faith can be a fortress in our darkest adversity. It shows us that true courage isn't the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. At Ain Jalut, when all seemed lost, his personal sacrifice inspired an entire army. Though his reign was brief, his impact was immeasurable. He stopped the unstoppable and preserved a civilization. His story is a powerful reminder that our beginnings do not define our end. So let me ask you, if you were on that field, seeing your lines break, would you have the courage to tear off your helmet and lead the charge? Thanks for watching. If this story of incredible faith and courage moved you, please hit that like button, subscribe for more epic histories, and tell us in the comments, what do you think is the greatest lesson from the life of Sultan Qutuz?